Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to tackle a pretty big question.
Yeah.
What's next for Europe? We've got reports, speeches, even some insider whispers, all kind of pointing to how Europe can level up, become more competitive, innovative, and honestly, just a happier place to live.
Yeah, that's the dream, isn't it? We're going beyond just the usual economic indicators here, though.
Okay.
This deep dive is really about understanding, the heart of what makes Europe tick.
Right.
The people, businesses.
Right.
The whole grand project of European integration.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Our main source today is this report. It's called Much More Than a Market.
I like that title.
Yeah, it's catchy, right?
Yeah.
And it's by former Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta.
Okay.
So he's not just, some guy sitting in a think tank.
Right.
He actually traveled all over Europe, getting the inside scoop from, folks from all walks of life.
That's really interesting. What did he find?
Well,
I mean, how does he kind of frame this challenge that we're talking about?
that's what's so fascinating is how he frames the challenge.
Okay.
He argues that Europe needs a serious upgrade.
Okay.
It's not enough to just be a market.
Right.
You need speed, security, solidarity to truly thrive.
Okay. I'm liking this already speed, security, solidarity.
Yeah. So speed, faster internet, quicker delivery of my online shopping. I'm all for it.
Well, he's talking about more than just fast deliveries. Okay.
Okay.
Imagine high-speed rail connecting all the major European capitals.
Ooh.
Streamlined regulations for businesses, decisions made swiftly at the EU level.
Okay, now that's a Europe I can get behind.
That's the vision.
But let's break this down a bit.
Yeah.
Letta looks at this challenge from all these different angles.
Okay.
So the European Union as a whole, individual member countries,
Okay.
businesses, and of course the citizens themselves.
Right. Got to think about everybody.
It's like a 360-degree view of Europe's future.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think what's also really important to consider here is that he doesn't sugarcoat things.
Okay.
He points out that the world is a pretty volatile place right now.
Yeah.
Conflicts and power struggles popping up everywhere.
That's true.
The war in Ukraine, I mean, that's been a real wake-up call, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Forcing the EU to kind of think how to balance its, open, collaborative nature with the need for economic and strategic security.
So that's like this kind of tightrope walk.
Wow.
How can Europe be open to the world but also protect its own interests at the same time?
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit, starting with the EU itself.
Okay.
Letta outlines 3 big strategic goals.
All right, lay 'em on me.
So the green, digital, and fair transition,
Okay.
EU enlargement,
Uh-huh.
and beefing up security across the board.
Ambitious much.
Right. I know these goals sound fantastic,
Yeah.
but I'm already wondering about the price tag.
Oh, yeah. Well, let us upfront about that. These goals are going to require massive investments.
Yeah.
And he stresses that transparency is key.
Right.
If the EU doesn't clearly explain how it's going to fund these changes and who's footing the bill, there could be a serious backlash from citizens.
Right.
People need to know what they're signing up for.
Yeah, that makes sense. No one likes hidden fees.
No, absolutely not. Okay, now imagine this.
Okay.
Letta traveling across Europe by train, right? And he starts to notice that there are hardly any efficient high-speed connections
What?
between major European capitals.
Seriously, I thought Europe was known for its amazing trains.
It is, but mostly within national borders.
Okay.
Crossing those borders by train can be a logistical nightmare.
Wow.
And he sees this as a symptom of a bigger problem, a single market that's still fragmented in crucial areas.
So even though goods, services, and people can move freely in theory,
Right.
in practice, it's not so simple.
Not always, no. And it's not just about trains either.
Okay.
Think about energy grids, digital infrastructure, even the regulatory environment for businesses.
Right.
Letta argues that member states need to step up their game when it comes to pooling resources and coordinating policies.
Oh, okay, but getting 27 countries to agree on anything sounds like a recipe for endless meetings and bureaucratic headaches.
It can be challenging for sure.
Yeah.
But Letta also points to some success stories,
Okay.
like the European Investment Bank,
Okay.
which has effectively funded projects across different member states.
Right.
It's proof that cooperation is possible when there's a shared vision and a clear plan.
So there's hope.
There's always hope.
Okay, maybe with some strong leadership and a bit of compromise, we can actually get things done.
So now here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Letta talks about these things called development traps.
Development traps.
Yeah, you have these regions within wealthier member states that are lagging behind economically.
So even though the EU as a whole might be doing well, some regions are getting left behind.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a reality in some places.
That doesn't sound very fair.
And that's exactly the point Letta's making.
Right.
For a truly successful Europe, everyone needs to benefit from its growth and opportunities.
Right, so that's the big picture EU perspective.
Right.
But what about individual member countries? What are their roles in making Europe more competitive and ultimately happier?
Well, Letta argues that member countries need a bit of a mindset shift.
Okay.
They need to move from this me-first mentality
Right.
to a more collaborative approach.
Okay.
Thinking about collective action,
Uh-huh.
What can we achieve together that we can't achieve alone?
But how do you balance national interests with the need for greater EU-level cooperation? Isn't there a risk that countries will feel like they're giving up too much control?
It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah.
Letta suggests that member states need to focus on areas where cooperation clearly benefits everyone involved.
Okay.
For example, cross-border infrastructure projects or joint research initiatives.
So finding those win-win scenarios.
Exactly where everyone comes out ahead.
Okay, I like that.
It's about identifying those shared challenges and opportunities and then working together to tackle them.
So this is where strategic thinking and a willingness to compromise are crucial.
Absolutely crucial.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we've talked about the EU and member countries.
Right.
What about the backbone of the European economy businesses? What's their perspective on all of this?
Well, let us spend a lot of time speaking with business leaders, especially those from small and medium-sized enterprises, the SMEs.
Yeah.
And he found that while they see the potential of the single market, they're also frustrated by the obstacles they face.
Okay.
Imagine, having this great idea, but struggling to get it off the ground because of bureaucratic hurdles and confusing regulations.
So it's like the single market is this great concept,
Yeah.
but the reality on the ground is a lot more complicated.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Letta argues that the EU needs to do a lot more to simplify the business environment and reduce that red tape that can really strangle businesses, especially smaller ones.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but what does that actually look like in practice? What are some of the concrete solutions that Letta's proposing?
Well, one of his most radical ideas is a European Code of Business Law.
Okay.
Instead of navigating 27 different legal systems,
Right.
businesses would have one clear, consistent set of rules for operating across the entire EU.
Well, that's a pretty bold idea.
Well-
Would that mean like scrapping all the national business laws and starting from scratch?
Not necessarily scrapping them entirely,
Yeah.
but creating this unified framework that sits above them,
Okay.
offering that clarity and consistency.
Mhm.
It would be like having this, 28th regime
Right.
alongside the existing 27 national ones.
Okay. So it's about creating a more level playing field for everyone.
Exactly. And this would especially benefit SMEs,
Right.
which often lack the resources to navigate the complexities of 27 different legal systems.
Yeah. Okay. I see how that could be a game changer for businesses.
Absolutely.
What other innovative solutions does he propose?
Another big idea is a savings and investments union.
Oh,
He points out that Europe has trillions of euros in private savings.
wow.
But a lot of it isn't being channeled into productive investments.
So it's like there's all this money sitting around doing nothing while businesses struggle to find funding.
Exactly. Letta envisions this more integrated financial market that would connect savers with the businesses and projects that need capital to grow and innovate.
I'm already intrigued. How would that actually work in practice? Wouldn't that require a massive overhaul of the entire financial system?
It would be a significant undertaking, for sure. But Letta believes it's essential for mobilizing the capital that Europe needs to finance its ambitious goals,
Right.
especially the green and digital transitions.
Okay, so we've got a European Code of Business Law to simplify things for businesses and a savings and investments union to get money flowing where it's needed. What else does Letta have up his sleeve?
Well, he's got some strong words about something he calls state aid shopping.
State aid shopping, what is that?
This is where companies exploit loopholes to get the most favorable state aid deals from different EU countries.
So they're playing the system to get the biggest handouts.
You could say that.
That doesn't seem very fair.
Well, Letta argues that it distorts competition within the single market, and he calls for a more level playing field.
Right.
He wants state aid to be used strategically to support innovation and growth,
Right.
not as a bargaining chip to lure companies from one country to another.
So it's about ensuring fairness and transparency in how state aid is used.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, it's the citizens who will ultimately decide whether Europe succeeds in becoming more competitive and innovative.
Right.
What's Letta's message to them?
Well, that's a great question and one we'll dive into after a quick break.
Sounds good.
Stay with us, folks.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our deep dive, into Enrico Letta's vision for a Europe that's much more than a market.
I like that.
Let's roll up our sleeves and dig into some of his bolder proposals.
Yeah, last time we were talking about the need for a more integrated single market, especially when it comes to supporting businesses.
Right.
And I'm really curious about Letta's European Code of Business Law proposal.
Yeah.
What would that actually look like in practice?
Okay, so imagine this. You're an entrepreneur with a brilliant idea, right?
Okay.
Instead of wrestling with 27 different sets of rules and regulations,
Okay.
you have one clear, consistent legal framework for doing business across the entire EU.
That sounds like a bureaucratic dream come true, but wouldn't creating this code be a massive undertaking?
It would be a complex process for sure.
Yeah.
But Letta argues it's essential for, unlocking the full potential of the single market.
Okay.
He suggests a phased approach,
Okay.
starting with harmonizing the most crucial areas of business law.
Okay. Like what?
Things like contracts, company structures, intellectual property.
So it's about finding common ground, pinpointing those areas where EU countries can agree on a unified set of rules.
Precisely. And he envisions this code as a living document,
Okay.
one that evolves over time
Okay.
to keep pace with, new challenges and opportunities.
Right. So it's constantly being updated.
Think of it as this layer of clarity and consistency
Okay.
built on top of existing national laws.
So it's about creating a more level playing field for businesses across the EU,
Right.
especially for those SMEs, who might not have the resources to navigate the complexities of 27 different legal systems.
Exactly. And this wouldn't just benefit businesses either.
Yeah.
It would also boost consumer confidence.
How so?
Well, when you know the same rules apply everywhere, you're more likely to shop around and find the best deals across the EU.
Right.
It's a win-win.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this European Code of Business Law could really shake things up.
Yeah.
What about Letta's Savings and Investments Union idea?
Okay.
That one sounds pretty ambitious.
It is ambitious, but Letta believes it's crucial for channeling the capital. Europe needs to finance its, green and digital transitions.
Right.
He points out that the EU has trillions of euros just sitting in savings accounts
Wow.
and low-yield investments,
Right.
money that could be put to much better use.
So it's about getting that money moving, connecting savers with the businesses and projects that need capital to grow and innovate.
Exactly. He envisions this more fluid financial market,
Okay.
where capital flows easily across borders to where it's needed most.
I see.
This would involve harmonizing regulations, reducing barriers to cross-border investment, and creating new financial instruments
Okay.
tailored to green and digital projects.
Wouldn't a savings and investment union face some pushback from, the big financial players
Oh, for sure.
who kind of benefit from the current system?
Yeah, Letta's very aware of that challenge.
Right.
He stresses that political will and strong leadership will be crucial
Okay.
for overcoming those obstacles and creating a system that truly benefits all Europeans.
Okay, it sounds like Letta isn't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Not at all.
But let's talk about his most radical idea, the fifth freedom.
Ah, yes. The free movement of research, innovation, data, and education.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Letta argues that a Europe where knowledge and ideas can flow freely is essential for the future.
Okay, so imagine a Europe where, a student in Lisbon can easily access a cutting-edge research program in Helsinki or a startup in Budapest, can tap into this vast pool of data that's stored in Dublin.
Exactly. It's about breaking down those barriers and empowering individuals to learn, collaborate, and innovate across the EU.
So it's about unlocking this whole new level of potential.
Precisely.
But how do you make this a reality?
Yeah.
It sounds great in theory, but wouldn't there be significant hurdles? In terms of language barriers, cultural differences, and even just varying levels of investment in education and research across the EU.
Those are valid concerns, and Letta addresses them head-on.
Okay.
He proposes concrete measures like harmonizing academic qualifications, creating a European data space for secure and responsible data sharing,
Right.
and even expanding Erasmus Plus programs to include high school students.
So it's about making mobility a reality for everyone.
Exactly, not just a select few.
Right. And it's about creating these incentives for lifelong learning.
Yes.
recognizing that in today's world, skills and knowledge need to be constantly updated and refreshed.
Absolutely. This is the key.
This all sounds very inspiring, but I can also imagine some pushback.
Yeah.
Wouldn't some countries be hesitant to share their research data or open up their educational systems to students from other EU countries?
Well, Letta acknowledges those concerns, and he argues that a shift in mindset is needed,
Okay.
moving away from this purely national perspective
Right.
on education research and innovation,
Okay.
and embracing a more collaborative European approach.
So more we're in this together kind of approach.
Exactly. He believes that Europe's strength lies in its diversity,
Mm-hmm.
and by sharing knowledge and ideas, we can all benefit.
It's like saying, let's pool our collective brainpower and become a global knowledge powerhouse.
Exactly. And let's not forget that the fifth freedom also emphasizes the freedom to stay.
Right. The idea that people should be able to live and work in their communities
Yes.
without feeling forced to move to, bigger cities or other countries to find opportunities.
Exactly. Letta emphasizes that addressing regional disparities is crucial.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, it means investing in things like quality healthcare,
Okay.
education, and infrastructure, even in less developed regions.
So making sure that everyone has access to those essential services no matter where they live.
Precisely. It's about ensuring that everyone feels like they have a stake in their community and a reason to stay.
It sounds like Letta's vision goes beyond just economics.
It does.
It's about creating a Europe where people feel connected, empowered, and optimistic about the future.
He's definitely not just talking about GDP and trade deal.
Right.
He's talking about creating a Europe that's both prosperous and just a place where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Okay.
And he believes that this human-centered approach is essential for ensuring Europe's long-term competitiveness and success in the 21st century.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from, the practicalities of business law to the grand vision of a fifth freedom.
It's a lot to take in.
But something tells me Letta has even more to say about how to make all of this happen.
Oh, you're absolutely right. He dives deep into specific sectors like energy and digital. He also has a lot to say about security and how Europe can navigate an increasingly complex geopolitical landscape.
Well, I'm already on the edge of my seat, so when we come back, we'll explore those topics in more detail. Stay tuned, folks, because it's about to get even more fascinating. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up, our exploration of Enrico Letta's report.
Yeah.
Much more than a market, and we've talked about, his big picture vision for Europe.
Right.
But now I kind of want to get into brass tacks.
Yeah, let's get...
What are some of his concrete recommendations for specific sectors?
Okay, well, let's start with a topic that's on everyone's mind these days.
Okay.
Energy.
Yeah.
With climate change, rising energy prices.
Right.
It's clear that Europe needs a new energy strategy.
Yeah.
And Letta has some bold ideas.
Okay. I'm all ears. Everyone's talking about the need to transition to cleaner energy sources.
Right.
But how do we actually make that happen? And how do we ensure that, Europe has this secure and reliable energy supply at the same time?
Yeah, well, Letta acknowledges that, transitioning to a clean energy system, it's going to require significant upfront investments.
For sure.
But he argues that, sticking with the status quo,
Okay.
relying heavily on fossil fuels imported from unstable regions,
Right.
that's actually even more costly in the long run.
Yeah, the war in Ukraine has certainly highlighted the dangers of relying too heavily on those energy imports from those unreliable sources.
Yeah, exactly.
But how does the single market kind of play into all of this?
Well, Letta sees the single market as this key enabler of a successful energy transition.
Okay.
He argues for a truly integrated European energy market,
Okay.
one that fosters cross-border cooperation on energy infrastructure,
Okay.
harmonizes regulations,
Yeah.
and creates a level playing field for renewable energy producers.
So we're talking about a Europe where energy flows freely across borders.
Yeah,
Where wind farms in the North Sea power homes in Southern Europe,
exactly.
and solar panels in Spain, contribute to the energy mix in Germany.
Precisely. Letta envisions a Europe where countries can leverage their diverse energy resources to create this secure and sustainable energy system for everyone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he even highlights the potential of green hydrogen
Oh, yeah.
as a real game changer in the energy transition.
Okay, so we're investing in renewables,
Right.
connecting energy grids across borders, exploring new technologies like green hydrogen. What about the human side of this energy transition?
Yeah, that's crucial.
How do we ensure that, no one gets left behind in this shift?
That's a crucial point, and Letta emphasizes the need for a just transition.
Okay.
He stresses that the costs and benefits of this transition have to be shared fairly,
Right.
and that workers in those traditional energy sectors need support and opportunities to reskill and transition to new jobs
Wow.
in the green energy
So
sector.
it's about ensuring that the shift to a cleaner energy future benefits everyone,
Yes.
not just a select few.
It's about leaving no one behind.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about energy.
Right.
Let's move on to another sector that's undergoing, this massive transformation.
Okay. The digital world.
Yeah, the digital world. How does Letta see Europe navigating this rapidly evolving landscape?
Well, Letta is very clear that the digital transition is just as important for Europe's future
Okay.
as the energy transition.
I agree.
He argues that Europe needs to assert its digital sovereignty,
Okay.
becoming less reliant on foreign tech giants and fostering its own digital champions. Right. That's a big challenge, though, considering the dominance of, a few large non-European tech companies.
Yeah, for sure. So how do we level the playing field?
Well, Letta proposes this kind of multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
First, he argues for increased investment in research and development
Okay.
to drive innovation in key digital technologies like AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Second, he calls for a more unified European digital market
Okay.
with a single set of rules for digital services, data protection, and cybersecurity.
So it's about creating a digital ecosystem that allows European companies to scale up
Yes.
and compete globally.
Exactly.
But what about concerns about, data privacy, algorithmic bias, the potential for misuse of technology?
Right.
How do we ensure that the digital transition benefits society as a whole?
Letta emphasizes the need for a human-centric approach to the digital transition,
Okay.
one that prioritizes ethical considerations and puts people and their rights at the forefront.
I like that.
He's a strong advocate for strong data protection regulations, ethical guidelines for AI,
Okay.
measures to combat online disinformation and hate speech.
So it's not just about fostering innovation.
Right.
It's about shaping the digital world
Right.
in a way that aligns with European values and safeguards human rights and democratic principles,
Exactly. It's about creating a digital future that works for everyone.
not just a select few.
Right.
Now, we can't talk about Europe's future without talking about, the businesses that drive its economy,
Mm-hmm.
especially the millions of small and medium-sized enterprises.
The SMEs.
Yeah, the SMEs that form the backbone of the European economy.
For sure.
How does Letta see SMEs fitting into his vision for a more competitive and innovative Europe?
Well, Letta sees SMEs as the engine of Europe's economy,
Okay.
and he believes that their success is crucial for creating a more, dynamic, resilient, and inclusive society.
Uh-huh.
He acknowledges the challenges SMEs face,
Right.
particularly in navigating the complexities of the single market.
Yeah.
And he proposes a range of measures to support them.
We've already discussed his ideas for like a European code of business law
Right.
and savings and investments union.
Uh-huh.
What else does he have in mind?
He suggests creating like a one-stop shop for SMEs
Okay.
to access information and support services related to the single market.
Okay.
Imagine a central hub where entrepreneurs can find everything they need to start and grow their businesses across the EU.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be incredibly helpful.
What about the issue of access to finance,
Yeah.
which is often a major hurdle for a lot of SMEs?
Yeah, he proposes expanding EU programs that provide loans and grants to small businesses
Okay.
and creating a more favorable regulatory environment for venture capital
Right.
and other forms of private investment in innovative startups.
So it's about ensuring that SMEs have the financial resources they need to thrive and innovate.
Exactly, but it's not just about money.
Right.
What about fostering a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation?
Yeah, how do we do that?
Well, Letta emphasizes the importance of investing in education and skills development
Okay.
to create this highly skilled workforce
Yes.
that's ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities of, the 21st century economy.
So it's about equipping people with the tools they need to succeed in this rapidly changing world.
Exactly.
But beyond the specifics of individual sectors,
Yeah,
Letta's report has this strong human dimension, doesn't it?
it really does.
He's not just talking about economic growth.
Right.
He's talking about creating a Europe that's fair and just for all its citizens.
Absolutely. For Letta, economic progress and social justice, they're two sides of the same coin.
I like that.
He argues that the EU needs to do a better job of addressing the concerns of citizens who feel left behind,
All right.
whether by globalization, technological change, or simply the uneven distribution of wealth and opportunity.
So it's about creating a Europe where everyone feels like they have a stake in the future, where opportunities are available to all,
Sure.
and where no one is left behind.
Exactly. Letta talks about the need for this freedom to stay,
Right.
ensuring that people have access to quality public services, affordable housing, decent jobs in their communities. He argues that investing in social cohesion and reducing regional disparities, it's not just a matter of fairness, but it's also essential for Europe's long-term economic success.
It sounds like he's calling for a Europe that's both prosperous and compassionate, a place where economic growth goes hand in hand with social progress.
Precisely. And he believes that this is the key to unlocking Europe's full potential in the 21st century.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Enrico Letta's vision for Europe.
We have.
He paints a picture of a Europe that's much more than a market, a Europe that's competitive, innovative, and ultimately more human-centered.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Letta reminds us that the future of Europe isn't predetermined.
Right.
It's a choice we make individually and collectively.
It is.
And the choices we make today will determine the kind of Europe we leave for future generations.
That's a powerful thought.
It's an inspiring and challenging message, one that encourages us to think big, act boldly, and work together to build a Europe that's truly worthy of its name.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you gained some valuable insights and perhaps even a renewed sense of optimism about the possibilities that lie ahead for Europe.
We'll see you next time.